So we ended up getting more food. We went to this market. We basically went here because we really wanted watermelon for breakfast, and they were so nice. Basically, we went in and there was no, we were looking for like sliced watermelon, cut watermelon, and they didn't really have any. So we just picked up a whole watermelon and we asked a guy there if he could cut it for us. He was so nice about it. He was like, yeah, of course. And he quartered it for us and he wrapped it up for us, and like now we're gonna take it to the beach, and yeah, that was so sweet. We got a ton more stuff, and all we really came for was watermelon, but like we found ripe bananas, and we found
sweet potatoes.
Yeah, we found more potatoes, and like, I don't know, somehow we
apples.
Somehow we ended up with what, 3 bags of stuff, and yeah, this is what happens when you go shopping when you're hungry. So now we're gonna head to the beach. Yeah, we were just talking about living in different places and weather and like, I guess what's ideal and yeah.
And why the seasons are there.
Yeah, we were talking about like ideal places to live and what we prefer, and I was saying how when you're eating raw vegan, I feel like it becomes a lot more important to live somewhere warm. I mean, obviously, I don't live somewhere warm, but I really want to. And I just feel like that has been something big that I've noticed over the years from being raw. Like, before I went raw, or mostly raw, yeah, I still liked warm weather, I still liked beaches and all of that, but I feel like once I started really, you know, eating almost entirely raw, it just became, like I felt like I got cold easier, and I felt like I was a lot more sensitive to the winter. And I know that some people, like I've seen other people who have been raw for much longer than me, and they say that that changes over time, and like eventually your body adjusts. And
oh, it does?
Well, that's what I've heard, but I don't know. That hasn't really happened to me yet. I mean, again, like I'm still kind of new because it's basically gonna be just about 2 years for me now. So like maybe it takes another few years for that to happen, but I just feel like where I'm at right now, I would feel so much happier and just like more comfortable living in a place like this, like full sun every day, 80 degrees.
80, it's like 100 down here in the summer.
I mean, we're sitting outside right now at the beach, and I don't really know what the temperature is. It's at least in the 80s, but it feels like the 90s. And like, I'm just sweating sitting here.
What regulates your body temperature?
What regulates it?
Yeah, is it the thyroid, or is it the...
Maybe, I think the liver has a lot to do with, like the health of your liver has a lot to do with how hot, I guess, you feel regularly. Because I did notice something, like I thought this was really interesting because, and I only can say this from experience because this is like directly what I've experienced over the past several years. Because when I first went to college, I remember I felt hot all the time. And I even, like, friends who knew me back then, they still remember that period where I was just always hot, and I would walk around in the wintertime. Yeah, I would walk around in the wintertime, and I would wear tank tops, and I remember,
God.
yeah, I remember like sitting in my dorm room in college, and it would be snowing outside, and I would be walking around in a tank top. I would open all the windows in my dorm, and friends would come over, and they would think I was crazy, and they would they would come over and they would have to hang out in their winter coats while I was wearing a tank top because yeah, I just never felt the cold. And I just thought that was normal. Like, I never really thought anything much of that. But then over the years, just of slowly changing my diet and transitioning to eating healthier, I've just noticed that I've felt, I guess, like less comfortable with the cold. Or that's not the right word, comfortable. I guess I just felt I felt like I actually feel the cold instead of just being totally just, I don't know, not affected by it at all. And yeah, and
I'm not eating meat.
I don't think it was just meat. I think it was just like, I don't know, the amount of processed foods I ate, the amount of convenience foods. Like in college, I was eating total crap, and I just wanted to be like a normal college student. So yeah, I was just always sweating all the time. Like, summers were the worst. I hated the sun. I hated being outside in the sun. I hated,
Oh my God.
yeah, I hated hot weather. That's why I was so glad to leave Florida, because basically I left Florida to go to college in New York, and I hated the weather in Florida, and I hated the sun,
Too
and
hot down here.
I just wanted to get away from it all and be somewhere that was more comfortable. But I think it's so interesting now that I've gotten so much healthier over the years, and like, you know, I had an autoimmune disease when I left Florida, and like basically I had very poor health, and I just feel like from clearing all that stuff up, I haven't felt the same about the winter like how I used to feel. I definitely feel the cold now, and the sun I just love now. I don't have any problem with being out in the sun. I really like being out in the sun. Before, I used to feel like people would call me a vampire because I just never wanted to go outside if it was sunny. I just like wanted to hide in a dark room, and yeah, I thought that was normal, but now I don't think that was healthy. I don't think that was me at my healthiest. And
Wasn't everybody else eating the same thing?
maybe, but I think I was really sick. Like, I definitely had a lot. My liver was just so clogged. I mean, I don't know if people were eating the amount of junk food that I would eat, because I seriously ate like crap. Like, I remember just living off chips and burgers and like cheesy fries, and like I never ate a fruit, I never ate a vegetable unless it was
They
like,
didn't have any there?
I just didn't eat it. I just didn't really like that stuff. Like, I probably ate the lettuce that was on the burger. And it's just, yeah, I was just so unhealthy, but I didn't recognize it back then. But now I can clearly see that what you eat plays such a big role in how you feel outside, how you feel in the sun, how hot you get. Like, I think my liver was just so overloaded with crap that I would get hot all the time. I would start sweating from everything. I could never like cool down. And now I don't feel that. Now, if anything, it's the opposite. Now I feel like I can tolerate extreme levels of heat, and it doesn't really faze me. It feels really good. The sun feels really good, but like I don't like the winter. I get pretty upset from being in the cold, and like I can handle it, but I really dislike it now in a way that never used to be the case. So I just think that's really interesting, how diet can just affect so much.
Was anybody else on the campus sick?
I'm sure lots of people were sick, and I have other friends who have issues too, but they don't think it's food related. Like, they don't think that food would make a big difference like that. I think that I really believe it either. It's just that I've gone through so many diet changes over the years, and like I've seen now what really makes me feel the best and what makes a difference. And yeah, it's just been from trial and error. It's not anything else, because you really have to try it yourself to see if it works for you. It's hard to just read about it and say like, no, that doesn't work. You've got to try it and really experience it yourself to really see the benefits. And sometimes you don't even know if, sometimes just because, like, if you're always walking around feeling like crap, sometimes you don't know what it actually feels like to be well. Like, I know that was the case for me. I definitely didn't know I didn't know I could feel this good all the time. Like, I just didn't know that was possible because I had never felt that before. Now that I feel it, I can't go back. I don't want to go back. And
Until you get too busy and there's no time to.
But you've experienced that too, right? Like because how long have you been doing this?
A year.
Like raw vegan thing? A year?
A year.
Yeah, and I mean, because you were a lot sicker then, right?
A lot more tired.
Yeah. And then you had like, what, the fibromyalgia?
Yeah, I still have that, but it's not as tiring as before because it was exhausting.
Yeah. So, like, what else has improved?
The eczema is gone.
I mean, how was your diet before? Like when you really weren't feeling well? How was your diet?
No, I was a heavy meat eater as a child.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But then vegetarian for like 40 years.
Yeah. But like, what were the kinds of things that you were eating on a daily basis when you like really felt the fibromyalgia and you had the, all
Pasta.
the chronic fatigue? Pasta.
Pasta.
Yeah, I really liked pasta too.
Lots of sugar.
Yeah. Like sugar in what forms?
It was candy.
You ate candy?
Well, if you have kids, they always have candy around. It's Halloween candy and Christmas candy, Easter candy, and birthday candy.
So you were living off pasta and candy? Is there anything else?
I think we had like a vegetable now and then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how like you can totally be vegetarian or vegan, but you could be a junk food vegetarian or vegan. Like I feel like, I don't know, sometimes people say that, I mean, being vegan is the end all be all, but it's not. Like, I would disagree with that because I feel like you could eat a lot of candy and pasta and call yourself vegan, but it wouldn't be healthy,
Well, I wasn't vegan because the only eggs I ate were like mixed in pancakes or cake.
Yeah. What was your favorite food?
Pasta.
Yeah. It's funny, like, years ago, I... Get it before it blows away. Yeah, it's funny because, like, years ago, I went vegetarian for a few years. I just, like, really got upset about how animals were being treated, and that kind of pushed me to try being vegetarian. And I actually was vegetarian. I was almost vegan actually for a few years, but I also didn't know what I was doing. And back then I still ate so much crap, just so much junk. Like, I was living off pasta and
Coconut oil.
not even coconut oil. I don't think I had coconut oil. I was living off I was living off pasta. I think like
Nuts.
not nuts. What I should have done back then was just eat a lot of fruits and vegetables like what I'm doing now, but I I kind of got scared away from doing that stuff because I had so many health issues going on at the time, and I read all these health books and they said like don't eat so much fruit because fruit is high in sugar, and you know, sugar feeds candida and all this other stuff, and I got really scared away from fruit, and I ate some vegetables. Like I was making some smoothies. I made green smoothies, so that was good, but I didn't really know how to make them, and I had like not a great blender, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I would force myself to drink these watery green smoothies every morning, and they would be ice cold, and they just didn't taste very good to me, but I would force myself to drink them because I was like, I'm being healthy, and
Did it give you energy?
it did. It gave me a lot of energy. It actually, like, I think threw me out of balance a lot, because I remember doing this in the winter, and I would drink these ice cold smoothies, and it was really cold outside, and I wasn't happy with what I was eating, and I still ate so much packaged stuff. Like I was still just living off packaged food, and I thought it was healthy because it was like healthy, you know, healthy convenience food. But convenience food is convenience food. It's still not the best for us. It's like the best thing to do is just go for the whole foods, you know, instead of like stuff that's processed and has a lot of additives and things like that. So anyway, I felt so unwell on that diet, and I eventually had to stop. Like after a couple years, I had to stop just because I felt like I was developing anemia on that diet.
Were you really?
Yeah, like I didn't realize it at the time, but basically while I was eating this way, like almost entirely vegan, and just like a lot of convenience packaged crap, basically like I developed this craving for ice, and yeah, I never thought it was that weird, but I would go to places like Dunkin' Donuts and I would ask them for containers of ice, and I would just sit there and I would crunch the ice, and
That was your dinner?
I just liked doing it. Like it wasn't my dinner, but I just developed this fixation for crunching ice, and I don't know why. It just kind of came up out of nowhere, but I didn't think anything of it. And then I just did this like several times a day. I would go and like I knew all the places in the neighborhood that had the best crushed ice, and I would go there and everyone knew me, and they would give me these cups of ice to take with me. And
That was a sign of anemia?
yeah, well, basically one of my friends, after doing this for several months, one of my friends was like, you know, that's a sign of anemia, right? Like crunching ice like that is actually pretty unhealthy. And then I looked it up and I saw he was right. And then so it got me kind of questioning what I was eating and everything. And I had to stop it because, again, like I wasn't feeling that well. It would have been different if I was, you know, noticing some benefits, but like I guess like a couple health things improved, but I was just like still feeling so out of it. I had energy, but it was like spastic energy. Like I couldn't even sleep at night because my mind and like my body was constantly racing, and yeah. And again, like I thought I was being healthy and I just didn't know any better. So it's been a long process. Like it's been years and years. It's been like a decade of experimenting with different diets and just trying different things and seeing what works. And like by far, like nothing even comes close to how I feel right now, just eating fruits and vegetables. And it's like, it's the simplest thing. And
yet you were paleo, what, 2 years ago?
I was paleo too, yeah. I was paleo, and again, I on that diet.
That must have been gross.
Well, actually, so after I stopped being like the vegan, vegetarian thing, I went paleo because, well, it's a long story, but basically I went paleo And that was really hard to do in the beginning for me to like accept eating so much meat and like cut out a lot of carbs. But again, I did this for health reasons because when you're really sick, like when you have serious autoimmune things going on, serious diseases going on, you become desperate and you're willing to do whatever it takes to get better. And if someone, like a book out there or a doctor or a program, basically if it shows you, if it tells you that you're going to improve and you see other people improving, then you're going to do it because you're at that point where you'll just do anything because you're tired of feeling sick and you're tired of feeling like crap. Yeah.
That's exactly why people get sick.
Yeah, and so, and for a long time, like I did paleo for several years, and I actually felt really good on that diet, and like by far that was what kind of made me feel the best. And so I thought,
Really?
yeah, I thought this was the answer, but I realize some things now, basically, that I only feel like I realize it now because I'm not paleo and because I tried the raw vegan thing. So when you switch to a paleo diet, there's all these things that you end up cutting out. Basically, the diet requires you to cut out processed foods and convenience foods.
Oh, really?
And sugar. Like, you don't eat sugar. You eat really...
Chunks of meat.
Yeah, but you eat high quality meat. So like the meat right now in factory farms, that is poison. You never want to eat that stuff. Like,
That's all that's in the supermarket.
Well, yeah, it's all that's in the supermarket. I feel like whatever, like if you're going to eat meat, eat, the best quality, organic, free range that you can find, because the meat that you find in grocery stores it has no health benefits. Like, that stuff is pure poison. And the animals, just like the treatment of the animals, it's horrific. So when you eat that food, that low quality food with animals that have gone through torture, you take in that vibration, you take in that energy of fear and
Slaughter.
And suffering, and
That's what everybody eats, though.
I
Most
know,
people.
and it's just not good for you at all. So, but basically, being on the paleo diet, you only eat like organic, free range meats. From like farm raised and grass fed and all that. So
They give you vegetables or no?
yeah, you eat a lot of vegetables. Like, it emphasizes vegetables too. I think like it emphasizes smoothies too. Like, there's a lot of
more space.
yeah, there's a lot of good things about that diet. And so my health did improve on that diet a lot. It's just that I got so many more improvements when I went raw vegan, and it's kind of like, in comparison now, yes, your health will improve being paleo because you're cutting out so much other crap that's out there, but I don't think it's the end-all be-all now. You just feel like it doesn't compare to being raw. It doesn't. Yeah. But I mean, I'm really glad that I tried it because I wouldn't have known. It's been like a stepping stone process for me. It's like, I try this next diet and it gets a little better, and this next diet it gets a little better, this next one it gets a little better. And now I feel like, it's like way up here from
So
where I've been, basically.
Interesting.